Hey basketball guys, we have news. Let's go to more news from the Golden State Warriors, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Dennis Schroder was hired to help Stephen Curry in preparing plays, but the player was unable to fit in with the Warriors. Due to the team's poor phase, executives are seeking to do business urgently. Dennis Schroder will be traded, say Warriors management sources. The Golden State Warriors' move didn't pan out as they might have liked. The NBA trade deadline is looming. Within the next month, the final trade transactions will have been made for the current season. The Golden State Warriors are one team that could benefit from being active in the trade market. Right now, the Warriors are 18-18. Through 36 games, their record has leveled out despite a scorching hot start to the season. They're an average team in a brutal Western Conference. They're going to need to make roster tweaks ahead of the second half of the season to get those kinks worked out to become a playoff team. The Warriors have already made one move that was supposed to play out well, but that just might not end up being the case. Dennis Schroder could be a trade candidate for the Warriors. Earlier this season, Golden State struck a deal with the Brooklyn Nets to acquire veteran guard Dennis Schroder. He was supposed to provide a scoring spark alongside Stephen Curry, though he hasn't been able to provide such on a consistent basis. It's become glaringly evident that Curry needs more help and Steve Kerr could benefit from having a second star on the squad. The Warriors might have to move on from the recently acquired guard to be able to improve the roster. CBS Sports revealed a list of trade candidates, divided into different tiers. Schroder was listed in Tier 5, listed along players who are in a situation that just isn't working. The Warriors landed Schroder hoping he could be their secondary scorer, CBS Sports wrote. Instead, he's shooting 31.3% from the floor and Golden State is just 4-7 since acquiring him. Don't be surprised if the Warriors try to flip Schroder elsewhere for a better-fitting role player, or aggregate his salary with a few other players to get a big name. Should the Warriors give up on the experiment early? This would be quite a quick turnaround for the Warriors, should they move on from Schroder in favor of more roster upgrades or another experiment. Would it be short-sighted or too early to move on from the experiment? As CBS Sports alluded to, the Warriors are 4-7 since Schroder's arrival to the Bay Area. The veteran guard isn't to blame for the squad's shortcomings, but he certainly isn't a fix for the matter. Maybe it is time to move on from him and use his value to continue making moves. Would it be short-sighted? Maybe. But the Warriors aren't exactly in a position to be patient. Curry is aging, and he's well into the latter half of his playing career. The same is true for Draymond Green. The team has to be quick and try and build a contender around those two as they look to squeeze out the most possible potential to cap off the dynasty. Orthopedic doctor gives Warriors fans bad news on Jonathan Kuminga. As if another losing streak isn't enough bad news to the Golden State Warriors fans, an orthopedic doctor has given them more reason to get worried about Jonathan Kuminga's injury. Dr. Nirav Pandya, a professor at the Orthopedic Surgery Department of the University of California, San Francisco, and director of sports medicine at Benioff Children's Hospital, said Kuminga could miss more than 3 weeks. Anytime you have a player who at the time of injury, the team's already saying, "Hey, this is a severe injury." It's a little bit more significant, Dr. Pandya said on Willard and Did show on 95.7 The Game on January 8. Even before you get an MRI, based on how he looks, you do get a little bit more concerned. And when you see this 3-week reevaluation timeline, it doesn't mean typically that he's going to be quote-unquote playing in 3 weeks. It could be another 3 to 4 weeks afterward. So when you get these more moderate to severe sprains, you're looking at 6 weeks. Dr. Pandya noted that Kuminga's injury could have an impact on his performance when he returns, as he's the type of player who relies on his explosiveness. So if there's any potential that he was going to be moved at the trade deadline, it's hard to know how he's going to be playing because teams are going to wait to see what he's doing on the court, Dr. Pandya added. So you worry about how he's going to do. He's young, he's healthy. It's not a 3-month-long injury, but you do get a little bit concerned how this is going to potentially linger as the rest of the season goes. Warriors want to keep Jonathan Kuminga. Despite the wide gap between Kuminga and the Warriors in their extension negotiation in the offseason, the fourth-year forward remains confident about his future in Golden State. I feel good, Kuminga said, per The Athletic's Anthony Slater. You never know what's going to happen, but I'm pretty confident this is where I'm at. That's because the Warriors are keen on keeping Kuminga, per The Athletic, despite the Miami Heat showing interest in him in a potential trade for their disgruntled star Jimmy Butler. According to Clutch Point's Brett Siegel, the Heat want Kuminga in any Warriors trade package to land Butler. The Warriors and Heat have held discussions with one another regarding Butler this season, league sources confirmed, Siegel reported on Friday, January 3. Although mutual interest between Butler and Golden State exists, Miami has made it clear that Jonathan Kuminga is a player they would want to be included in the framework of a potential deal for their superstar forward. Kuminga's lengthy absence has already taken its toll on the Warriors, who are at an inflection point with the trade deadline just less than a month away. Without Kuminga, they were blown out by two teams who were missing their top stars, 114-98 to the Jimmy Butler-less Miami Heat on January 7 and 129-99 to the De'Aaron Fox-less Sacramento Kings on January 5, to move down to 10th place in the Western Conference with 18-18 record. Losing 6 of their last 21 games is rock bottom for the Warriors, whose 12-3 start seems like a distant past. I honestly have no idea, Warriors star Stephen Curry told reporters when asked how the Warriors can fix their offensive woes. We'll try to figure it out. But I don't have an answer right now. Curry is exasperated. He's turning 37 in March. With his championship window rapidly closing, will the Warriors relent on giving up Kuminga to give Curry a secondary star like Butler for one more title shot? Warriors in a crisis after back-to-back blowout losses. How quickly things change. When the Warriors began the season 12-3, Steve Kerr called this iteration of the team the deepest he's ever coached, a sentiment that Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins agreed with. Since that blazing start, the Warriors have gone 6-15, and things are not hunky-dory anymore. After a 114-98 loss to the Heat on Tuesday, Kerr shockingly admitted that his team had lost its morale. I think we're suffering from a crisis of confidence right now, frankly, Kerr said, via ESPN's own Young Masuk. You can see it. You can feel it. I don't mind missed shots, but I mind when missed shots affect the defense and the attitude. We feel deflated right now. And there's no room for feeling sorry for ourselves in the NBA, in life in general. We can't let disappointment dictate our approach to the game. We have to do the opposite. Kerr questioned the Warriors' competitive spirit as the team was blown out by a Jimmy Butler-less Heat just 48 hours after suffering a 30-point loss to the Kings. The latter loss was so deflating that it propelled an eternal optimist such as Stephen Curry to suggest that the Warriors haven't shown the ability to overcome large deficits this season or even win close ball games. During their 6-15 run, the Warriors have dropped games to several sub-.500 teams such as the Nets and Kings. As such, they haven't been bothered by only the elite teams across both conferences. The Warriors will now begin a 4-game road trip with stops in Detroit, Indiana, Toronto, and Minnesota. It shouldn't shock anyone if they lose 3 of the 4 in light of their recent form. With less than a month to the February 6 trade deadline, the Warriors are expected to aggressively pursue a star with hopes of reviving their season.